Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I want to begin first with an animation. This is an infrared satellite animation over the last day and a half or so. So this starts yesterday in the middle of the afternoon. And that's a key thing I want you to know about this, because what we tend to see right here underneath this larger ridge that's sitting over the western United States is daily convective activity. In other words, thunderstorms that are popping on the heat of the day. What's neat is you can actually see the heat of the day in the background of the image. Where it is clear and the satellite's able to see all the way down to the surface, you see these lighter grays that are in through these regions over here. Those particular regions are where we're seeing the heat of the sun warming up the surface temperature, and the satellite's actually measuring how hot the ground temperature is. And what I think is fun to watch is, yes, you're going to see the storms pop in the afternoon heat right in through here, but watch what happens as the sun sets. So here it is, heat of the day, storms pop, sun sets, and the valleys all cool off. Isn't that neat just to see it all cool off there when the sun sets? But this area right in through here, sitting under this ridge, a lot of very active convective activity here, fueled both on Gulf moisture and moisture coming off of the Pacific, and that's going to continue to happen over the foreseeable future. Just looking here at the the last 72 hours, we can see some parts of Nevada getting into parts of the Four Corners states. Some of these locations on the mountains, we've been able to measure rainfall amounts that have exceeded 2 to 3 inches out of some of these storms. Outside of that, some widely scattered showers that move through parts of Washington State over the last couple of days, and then you can see here a storm still curling around that ridge into parts of Montana. So a lot of hit or miss thunderstorm activity underneath this broader ridge feature that's still sitting out here, and it's going to be out there for quite some time. When I look at lightning just over the last few days, because we do watch this very carefully this time of year, because if we were super hot and dry out west leading up to this, any sort of lightning from these storms could be disastrous for starting fires. Well, we had 280,000 lightning strikes just in the last 24 hours. Some very active storms rolling through the Canadian prairies into the northern part of the United States. A big front that's been draped down here that extends into the Gulf of Mexico, and then look, in that ridge or around that ridge, a lot of lightning here with these thunderstorms that are blowing up in the Four Corners states. Well, in addition to that, we have a large area here in the Four Corners states where we are concerned about the potential for flash flooding. So we're continuing to watch for that risk. That's what some of those colors indicate right there for our all hazards map. But to the west, looking California, because of the dominance of this ridge, we are still having large areas of the Central Valley of California that are under a heat advisory after what is shaped up to be a very hot middle and end of this week. So we're going to talk about those temperatures first. Starting off in the day on Friday, we still have triple-digit heat that stretches the length of the valley here. So you can see 101 degrees getting clear up here to the northern edge of the Sacramento Valley, and then all the way down to the San Joaquin, a lot of triple-digit heat here, low 100s. Of course, getting into the desert southwest, temperatures down here in the 105 to 110, some locations up to 115 degrees, so very hot. Notice how it is spreading clear to the coast here with those triple-digit temperatures. Pressing play, let's see what happens once we get into Saturday. So still a lot of heat hanging around for Saturday. This is why the heat advisory is out. So a lot of lower 100s up to about 105, 107 degrees stretching through the valley. So very, very hot, much warmer than average. But look at this. This is Sunday. Now watch what happens as I start you into next week. There's Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday. So we have a few more days to endure this heat wave that is going on in California, but then it begins with the cool down starting Sunday night, lasting in through the middle of next week. So this is Wednesday and taking out to next Thursday. So now we're getting back down into much more seasonable temperatures here for the valley. So that's how long the heat wave is going to be lasting here in the Central Valley of California. Now with that, over the next 7 days, we will see here in the Central Valley evapotranspiration rates adding up to around 3 inches of water evaporated out of the soil, between 2.5 and 3 inches. Of course, those amounts are much higher down here in the desert. But we are starting to see some warmer conditions move back up into the Pacific Northwest. You'll see this in a few minutes, and in the Snake River Valley, where we're going to be seeing evaporation rates again, getting up there around 2 to, in some locations, approaching 3 inches of total evaporated water. So we need to look at that in comparison to precipitation and try to understand what this flow pattern is giving us. So let's get the bigger picture down first. This is my North Pole plot here of the trough and ridge pattern. What we're going to notice is several troughs in the near term kind of come right around through the parts of British Columbia into Alberta, Saskatchewan. It's going to be this this is going to be the central Canadian storm track we're going to be seeing. The second thing I want you to watch is the presence of the ridge that is sitting here over the southwest. You're going to see it continually reinforced over the coming days. And overall, the flow wants to build in a broader trough that comes into the eastern half of the United States. And that's very important for the west forecast. Because of the wavelength of this, it looks as though we're going to be able to keep more of our troughs offshore, and that is what is going to be keeping the warmer conditions and that bigger ridge sitting right in through here. So that's the setup overall. Let me click play and so you can see this all go here. So watch the trough sweep through the Canadian prairies. But notice the ridge really hangs on and stays in place over the four corner states, while broader troughing kind of sets up over here in the eastern half of the United States. Right now, we do see that that trough is expected to be staying off of the west coast, which is going to allow for some warmer temperatures to build along the west coast, but we need to pay close attention to where that trough actually moves once we get into the month of August, because this animation took you all the way out to August 10th, and this is the flow pattern that the models have been cluing in on for quite some time here. So it's a bit of a trickier pattern, and there is a big wild card with all of this, and I'm going to discuss at the very end of this video, so hang on, I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. Just boiling this down into some temperature patterns over the next 5 days. Got the map over here on the left from the European model. Remember, because that storm track is kind of racing through the Canadian prairies, we still kind of hang on to a slight cooler bias in the near term. But we notice that temperatures will be rebounding toward middle of next week and beyond across much of the western United States. Still keeping California warm here, but not nearly as extreme as you will be seeing in the next couple of days. So with the broader ridge extending in this area, a return toward warmer conditions will be the name of the game. Storm track again moving through the Canadian prairies after going through British Columbia and over the mountains. When we get out here to the 10-day time period, remember the models wanted to do this with the flow of the jet stream. Because the broader trough was in this area, we're trying to bring in, I think, quite a bit more heat and more of the southwestern monsoonal flow, which we talked about on Tuesday's video. And so this is a pattern that really suggests that as we progress into the month of August, I think the western part of the United States has a better chance at seeing warmer than average conditions and an active monsoon once we move through the month of August. I think that's how it'll end up trending here for the west. Now, given that particular forecast, we do need to take a quick look at where our drought monitor sets up. And we do see here that our drought situation in coastal Oregon and Washington, then spreading through much of northern Washington, has really been a consistent story as we've moved through the dry season here. And even though you've seen pockets of drier weather start to show up, some of the rains that we saw at the end of this week, because remember, this map was created on July 23rd, and we just saw since then, so the last 3 days, some very heavy rainfall in this area. I'm expecting with the evolution of the monsoon that this particular pocket of drought in through here will be decreasing in size with time. Now, over the next 7 days, so we're looking out here to next Friday morning, you will see, if you kind of notice here, this particular region showing up with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, that is more monsoonal flow, and the overall flow of the atmosphere, remember, during this time period is doing something like this with the broader ridge setting up in this area. So we will be seeing a couple of chances for some coastal precipitation in Oregon and Washington. We will see daily convective events. What I'm talking about is daily thunderstorm activity inside of this corridor here, and that's going to be a situation where we're only able to forecast the position of those storms, on a day-by-day basis, but certainly be lifted by the mountains, so that'll give you a clue. So some heavy rainfall could be expected out of some of these storms as the convection continues there in the Intermountain West. Now, over the next 24 hours or so, again, the Storm Prediction Center, along with the National Weather Service, one larger agency here, keeping a close eye on this region for some stronger thunderstorms with some heavier rainfall. So that's what we got going on right in the Intermountain West. We're going to see in a few minutes that this front, as it passes through parts of Oregon and Washington, might be bringing in the chances for some showers. We'll just flip over to our high-resolution rapid refresh model to see that. So as we watch this animation, which just starts Friday morning and takes you out to Saturday midday, you can see again through the Intermountain West, see the storms blowing up and flowing in that clockwise flow around the upper level ridge that's there. So again, a lot of hit or miss showers and storms. They do extend up into the Snake River Valley and into Montana and Wyoming. But that front that does move off of the ocean here into parts of Washington and Oregon, bringing some widely scattered showers and storms in through those two states. You can see it right coming in here early Saturday morning, spreading across that region. But again, a lot of hit or miss out of this. This isn't widespread rainfall. Let's now switch over to our European model, see how things play out for the next 10 days. So I'm going to go ahead and click play on this, and let's pause it right there and just backtrack a hair. So what do we see? This is Friday afternoon, getting into Friday evening. And then by Saturday morning, that's when that frontal boundary slides through. So this is our best chance at widely scattered showers moving through parts of Oregon and Washington. What you're going to see, though, is as we get into the heat of the day on Saturday, that's when the storms again pop up again here in the Intermountain West. But notice that our main storm track beyond this is through the Canadian Prairies. So you see the storm system's riding in through here. So once we get past our chance of rain here in the Pacific Northwest in the day on today and then tomorrow morning, really things dry out once we get beyond that. So I've got you now to Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Again, just some storms popping here in the mountains. There's the monsoonal flow. See it right there coming up through Mexico. As I take you out to now Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. This is now Wednesday morning. By Wednesday morning, our next system is pushing in here into British Columbia, and we will be seeing, this is Wednesday morning, getting into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. So chances again in parts of the Pacific Northwest for some widely scattered showers. Our next big pulse comes in next Thursday afternoon and evening. So you see we got 3 chances for some coastal rain in Oregon and Washington, but overall this is a pretty inactive time period in terms of precipitation, which is typical of July. Storm track is in Canada. We're just going to watch for coastal Washington, Oregon, and then storms to pop up here on the mountains in the Intermountain West. You know this pattern very well if you're out here in the West. This is very typical for this time of year. Okay, here's the wild card that I want to discuss with you. We have been watching, and I've been putting it in the long-range updates. We've been watching the development of some very warm water temperatures here in the Gulf of Alaska. You know, this has been called in the past the warm blob, the Pacific warm blob. Sea ice extent here in the Bering Sea is low, and water temperatures there are anomalously high as well. And what many of us are trying to understand is that as we start to see the effects of El Nino just wane, we've really seen that recently with the cooler waters emerging here, the much stronger easterly winds, those are winds from the east moving across the Central Pacific, that we're trying to understand the interplay between that and what could potentially be a lot more ridging over Alaska due to this heat. Now, if that is the setup and we start to get a pattern that does something a bit more like this with time, it'll be important to see how these ocean temperatures interact. But I'm going to spend a lot of the weekend and early part of next week trying to understand this a bit better so that we can get a better longer range forecast. I think I can say this one blanket statement, though, and that is, as we do see a lot of warmer water showing up in the Gulf of Alaska and surrounding Alaska, that sensibly, there's a sensible heat transfer there, and that may work to keep much of the the western part of North America on the warmer side of things as we progress through the rest of fall. But there are other things going on that I need to research and understand a little bit better, and I'll spend some time doing that to give you a better report on this next week, okay? So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this forecast video right here. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions, so we look forward to our weather forecast videos coming out next week. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.